Let's pretend we had a business that had, say, 4,000 potential customers last year. They called you, you called them, they came into your shop, whatever way you do business. Let's pretend you sold 25% of them, 1 in 4 of them to become a customer. So you had, in this case, 1,000 customers. Does that make sense so far? Okay. Then we look at number of transactions. Let's pretend on average they came back twice. So some bought once, some bought 100 times, but on average there was 2 sales per customer. Average revenue, let's make it 100 pounds per customer. So that gives us a revenue in this little business of 200 grand. Does that make sense to everybody so far? For ease of calculation, I'll give you margins 25%. So that gives us 50 grand in profit. Nice, easy, round numbers. So what we're going to do now is we're going to work on improving how many areas up here? How many areas are we going to improve? 5 areas. We're going to work on them. Now, will we work on all 5 at the same time? Yes. You don't go to the gym and do your right arm this month, left arm next month. Okay, we want the synergy of all of this working together. So we're going to work on your lead flow. Now, my coaches, I've taught all of my coaches literally 78 strategies to improve the lead flow in business. The average business is using approximately how many of those strategies would you guess? 2. Average business uses 2 lead generation strategies, and not well in most cases. What's the problem with that? You can't have a growth business with only 2 lead generation strategies. We build you up to get you more. Now, I could grow your business a lot faster than your business can handle the growth for 2 reasons. What are the 2 reasons we have to grow it a little slower than what we could do it? Number 1, cash. Could we grow your business faster than you have cash flow to be able to grow it? Yes or no? Absolutely. Unless you've got a lot of capital, it's hard to grow fast. What's the second reason it takes time to grow it? Staff, people, knowledge, skills. You've got to get the people up to speed to be able to handle the growth. If you're going to double your business, you either have to double your number of staff or double the productivity of the existing staff. Does that take time? Yeah. So normally in a business, we don't aim at doubling or tripling any of these numbers. All we aim to do in the first year is about a 10% improvement in each of the 5 areas. We're not aiming to do massive improvements because it would put you out of business and probably for most of you give you a heart attack. Okay, because you'd have to work 10 times the amount of hours and so on. So, if we look at the number of leads and all we do is fix the ones you're doing right now, if we take your advertising and fix the headline, test it, measure it, do some things, like Alan the baker, or my friend who was an accountant, his advertising was generating 3 leads a week. We got it to 300 leads a week for him. We actually had to reduce his advertising size and do it less often because he could only handle 20 new leads a month. You know, you need to sit down and look at it. Those sorts of things can be done. So all we're aiming to do is a 10% improvement in lead flow. Does that make sense? In fact, how many of you would like to have a 10% improvement in lead flow over the next month? Who'd like to have that? Do you know how you do that? Number 1, referrals. Number 2, test and measure. If you start asking for referrals of every single person you do business with, you don't even have to have a system for it. Just start asking and also do that. But test and measure. You've got to know how many leads you're getting and where they're coming from. All we need to do is 10% more. So in this case, what's that become now? Everyone call it out for me. 4,000 is now 4,400. So then we're going to work your conversion rate. Again, test and measure is vital in this one. If you don't know your numbers, how many of you actually know your conversion rate of those that call or those that come in versus those that buy? Hands up if you know it. Excellent, great measurement. The rest of you, what have you got? Room for improvement. If you test and measure, I had another gentleman, this guy had an electrical business, electrician. He's getting phone calls, 50 grand a month on advertising. He's getting all these phone calls. I said to him, well, so tell me, what's your conversion rate? Oh, Brad, we're really good at sales. We sell 6 or 7 out of every 10 people that call. I said, really, 70%? He said, yeah. 2 weeks later, I come back to his office and said, so tell me, what were the test and measure results of your conversion rate? He said, Brad, they weren't good. I said, I know. He said, how do you know that? I said, because whenever you guess at it, I know it's at least half of whatever you guessed. He said, well, Brad, it's not a half, it's a quarter, 17%. How panicked was he at that point in time? He literally wanted to fire all of his salespeople. I said to him, all we got to do is systemize it. We put in systems for answering the phone. We put in a script for answering the phone. We built a system for it. We took his conversion rate to 49% in a matter of 4 weeks. Now, anyone who's quick at math can tell me, what did that do to his business? Tripled the business. We had to cut back his advertising because he couldn't handle triple the business straight away. Think about these sorts of things. What did it do to his acquisition cost? Dramatically reduced it. So all we want to do here is 10% better, okay? So 25%, what's it now? Sorry, not 35, sorry, 10% better, so 2.5% more. So in this case, 27.5. Okay, I've already done the math. That gives you 1,210 customers. Then we're going to work on your repeat business. The average business's repeat business is woeful. How many of you have a database of every single one of your past customers, their names, addresses, phone numbers, emails? Who has that? Hands right up high. Keep it up if you write back to them and ask them to buy from you at least every 2 months, at least every 60 days. Woohoo! Those of you who don't have a database, you've just thrown away your best asset. You spend all that money buying those customers, you don't even get their name and address. It's crazy, isn't it? Those of you who do have the database and aren't writing back to them, massive room for improvement. And those of you who are writing back to them, can we tweak it, refine it, and get it working better? Yes or no? You know, all this sort of stuff that we can do. The repeat business blows my mind how fast it is. If you want to get 10% improvement there, all you've got to do is ask people to come back. Would that thank you letter be a great starting point? Yes or no? Yes. Simple as that. It's not rocket science, this stuff, but it is a process. You're so busy cutting hair or doing whatever your business does that you're not doing this stuff. I don't want you cutting hair anymore. I want you running the business. So in this case, you know, we try and get people back more often. So in this case, we go from 2 to what? 10% better? 2.2. In this case, we're going to do 100. We're going to aim at 10% improvement. How many of you would like to have a 10% improvement in your average dollar sale starting tomorrow? First thing tomorrow, your average sale goes up by 10%. Who'd like that? Say yeah? Excellent. Here's what you do. Write this down. Do it word for word. I don't want you to mess this up. Raise all prices by 10%. So in this case, we go to 110, 10% better. So of course what we've done here is improve the revenues by 10%, haven't we? Haven't we? Yes. No. Gotcha. It's 10% times 10% times 10% times 10%. It's a thing called leverage. Remember that? Divide to multiply. $292,820. It's a 46% increase in the revenues. Margins. Where are my accountants again in the room? Accountants? If sales are up by 46%, will the profitability of the business have gone up? Yes or no? At least 10% in most cases, but let's say you even had to use some of the 50-odd strategies. So now we're at 27.5. $80,525.50. 61% improvement in the bottom line.